Thanks for joining me on another episode of Why Not Go, the channel dedicated to rock and roll, especially punk and especially the Sex Pistols. Well, this is very much a Sex Pistols video. It's my second video on Wally Nightingale. I posted one earlier this year, and I'll put a link to it if you haven't seen that one. I was always intrigued by Wally Nightingale. He started the band The Strand with Steve Jones and Paul Cook, and later they were called Swanker. I used to think they were called The Swankers, but they were called Swanker, and eventually they were renamed by Malcolm McLaren, the Sex Pistols. As most people probably know, Wally Nightingale wrote the B-side to this fantastic single, God Save the Queen. He wrote the song, Did You Know Wrong, the music. His father initially wrote the lyrics, and it was called Scarface, and then Paul Cook and Johnny Rotten redid the lyrics to Did You Know Wrong. But the music was all Wally Nightingale, who played guitar, and he lived at 50 Hemlock Road in Shepherd's Bush, and that's where Steve and Paul would come over. They were all school friends. They went to the Christopher Wren School and had gotten to know each other there. And that's where the band started, in Wally's bedroom. And I recently read this fantastic book called Wally, Did You Know Wrong? Did You Know Wrong? Whatever Happened to the Lost Sex Pistol by Ron Evans. And in this video, I'm lucky enough to interview Ron Evans. And it's a great book. I highly recommend it. And I'll put the link in the description on where to buy it. It's basically his website, ronevans.rocks, I guess just on the internet, ronevans.rocks, and you can order it there. It's a really fun book, and it's a lot of quotes from different people, including Glenn Matlock. And it really fills you in, if you're interested in punk rock history, as I am, on just how the band started. Like a lot of bands, they just knew each other from the neighborhood, from school. And but Wally was really the one who was considered the best musician, and they all rehearsed at his house until his father got them the Riverside Studios location. And Wally wrote their first song, which became "Did You Know Wrong," which the Sex Pistols with Frank Carter do today. And yes, I highly recommend it. And today I'm interviewing Ron Evans, who put the book together, and he lived at 49 Hemlock Road, just across the street. So they were neighbors and friends. And this is my interview with Ron Evans, and he's got lots of insights into those early days of the band that became the Sex Pistols. Enjoy. All right. Well,
There you go.
thanks for joining me, Ron, on my channel.
Yes.
I saw the interview you did on the Budget Guitar channel, which was really
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
And I just love this book. I think it's really essential for anyone who is into punk rock, especially the Sex Pistols. And I just really enjoyed it. Whatever happened to the Lost Sex Pistol, um,
Good old
by
Wall.
Ron Evans. I love it. I love the title up here. Wally, Did You Know Wrong? I guess that was
That's
the
right. Yeah.
the main title there. So when did you decide, or why did you decide to put together this book?
Well, as you know, Wally's been dead for quite a few years now. 1997, I think it was, he died. And
96.
96, sorry. Yes,
Mhm.
I stand corrected.
No, that's
And
okay. I just read it
uh,
in your book.
Yeah, obviously my memory is not as good as it was back then, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I was asked to bring that story out about how Wall got involved, well, was involved with the Pistols and was the former of the band. Really, he invented the Sex Pistols. It's as simple as that.
Hmm.
And he was just really shunned aside. You know, when he was outed from the band, um, they just sort of didn't acknowledge him at all. Me and Wally went down to one of the very early Sex Pistols gigs. I think it was the 100 Club in Oxford Street in London, and they just totally blanked Wall. You know, they really did. And
They didn't say hello to him
No,
or
he went. He went. I was with Wall at the time, and Johnny Rotten announced over the microphone, "Wall is in the building," and so Wall went backstage after they'd finished the gig, and he came back out and he said, "God, they just said hello, and that was really it. They
Hmm.
just they just didn't want to. They just didn't want to know him.
Hmm.
Total blank, you know."
Yeah.
So I decided to tell the story after being provoked by a couple of guys who wanted to hear the story about Wally,
Hmm.
and they said, "Look, why don't you write it? You know, we'll help you along the way." And da 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 da. And so I started it, and there it is, book
Yeah,
written.
I love the style of it. It's a lot of it's very conversational because of it's the interview style, and I like the fact that you kind of there uh, quotes from people throughout the book, and it goes in a nice kind of sort of chronological order. And Glenn Matlock gave you an interview for it,
Yeah,
obviously, because
yeah.
he's in the book a lot.
Yeah. I interviewed Glenn, and he didn't remember me from way back. You know, 'cause as it says in the book, I lived at 49 Hemlock Road. Wally lived at 50 Hemlock
Hmm.
Road,
Yes.
and you know, there's all. It's funny because there's all writings on the wall of 50 Hemlock Road. There's Steve has scrawled his name in brick.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah, Paul's got someone's got a picture of it somewhere. A real die-hard Sex Pistol fan has gone down to 50 Hemlock Road, and you can see all these chalk and scribes on the brickwork where we've all carved our names in it. You know, I'm on there, and Steve's on there, Steve Jones,
Oh,
Paul.
so Steve and Paul, when they were there, either in Swanker, I always thought it was the Swankers, but from your book, it's Swanker or the Strand. They carved their names in the bricks while they were
Yeah,
there.
yeah. There's pictures of them in the garden of Wally's garden.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
seen those. Yes.
yeah, and it was yeah, they were really good times, you know. Because I was only like 14. It was really early on, 14
Hmm.
years of age. I'm 66 now,
Yeah.
and you know those times, you know, up in Wally's room. Wally had a big Marshall stack, and Steve would be sitting there. I would be sitting on the bed, and Steve couldn't play the guitar at all.
Hmm.
And I just said to him, I said, "Look, this is a D chord," because I'd only been playing like a year. And I said, "Oh, that's D, is it?" Yeah, here we go. So yeah, we was on the bed in Wally's room.
That's
Um,
amazing. So you
yeah,
taught Steve the D chord. Yeah, one of the things I learned in your book was that that Wally wasn't just the guitar player, but he was the one who put the band together, and he was the I mean everybody gathered at his house.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just across the road from me. I'd walk over there because Wal was a little bit of my sort of hero at the time.
Hmm.
You know, because him being like 3 years older than me,
Hmm.
you know, he had all the guitars, which was all stolen,
Yes.
um, all this equipment, and there were just loads of equipment. And so really looked up to Wal at the time, and he was the guitarist, and what a guitar player he was! Oh, excellent guitar player.
Yeah, he must have taught Steve Jones a bit of guitar, even though Steve was the singer. He must have
Yeah,
taught him a bit.
yeah. they covered that series Pistol. They covered how Steve was given the Sylvain Les
Uh-huh.
Paul,
Yeah.
and get on with it, learn, but he already knew a little bit, but not a lot at all.
Yeah.
But he learned that off Wally, obviously.
Yeah.
What
And his guitar style was probably learned from Wally too, right?
Wall had absolutely fantastic style, really, really good style. It was very Keith Richards with a more punchy rock sound,
Hmm.
and that's what Steve sounds like
Hmm.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a real raunchy Marshall Les Paul sound, and he still
Yeah.
uses it today.
That's a yeah, I learned that from the book. How, I mean, I always thought Steve didn't know a lick of guitar when Malcolm made him the guitar player, but he, like you said, he must have known a little bit from Wally.
From
So
Wally, yeah.
did you, when you were living across the street, so you were only 14, did you see like Steve and Paul like coming and going? And I know there was Stephen Hayes,
Yeah.
the bass player. Did you see them kind of coming and going and the
Oh,
activity
yeah.
over there?
All the time. I'd sort of keep a little vigil of Wally. Wally's house was literally just slightly across the road,
Yeah.
and I was, here's Wall. So I'd go running over there, and and I'd see Steve and Paul, and I remember Glenn saying, "Who's the kid?" Because I
Oh,
was like,
really?
"Yeah." He said, "Who's the kid?" And Wall, "Oh, he's just a guy from across the road." Totally shunned me out the way. They're very quite secretive about a lot of stuff because there was an awful lot of equipment being stolen at the
Hmm.
time. And the stories are endless about what
Yes.
Steve, the Hammersmith Odeon thievery stuff. But yeah, it was good to see them. I see them coming and going all the time, all the
All the,
time.
yeah. And yeah, one thing I learned, well, I've learned a lot in your book, but Steve, you always think that maybe he was by himself when he was doing all the, stealing of equipment. But like at the Hammersmith Odeon, it was his friend Steve Hayes,
Yeah,
i-
Hazy
who
was
was
there.
who was the bass player in the band before Glenn Matlock. He was the one who was with them all the time, getting up to stuff.
That's right. Those two did
Mm.
the actual robbery
Yes.
of equipment and drove it to Wall's house and
Yeah.
stored it in his house, and then went back again and stole more stuff.
Oh, I guess his parents didn't mind all this equipment going in the house. They must have, I'm sure his parents must have known it was stolen. I guess they
Well,
didn't mind.
you know, it's no secret that Wally's dad, he was very much, let's say, a bit of a villain
Hmm.
in, in around a lovely bloke, really
Hmm.
nice. Derek, his name was.
Derek, yes.
Yeah, and the mystery that surrounds Derek's death, which I'm not going to go into here now, because
I thought
it's
that was very interesting. His Derek was Wally's father, and he wrote the lyrics to
mhm,
the song that became "Did You Know Wrong."
mhm,
He wrote the lyrics. I mean, he was very involved with the band.
mm.
He was kind of their manager.
Well,
Uh,
he was. That's correct. He was sort of steering them in the direction, even giving them the rehearsal space at
mhm.
Riverside Studios. But that was when all the mystery started surrounding Wall's dad's death. Was there was some sort of conspiracy going on because he'd embezzled a lot of money apparently,
Oh.
and the crowd who he embezzled the money off, that were involved in Riverside as well.
Mhm. Oh.
And then suddenly Wall's dad shows up floating in the canal.
Yes. What, in 1978? So early.
Yeah, exactly. And
It
what
sounded
happened?
like a mafia kind of hit. Yeah.
Exactly. But we can't say these things.
Yes.
We say allegedly is the
Well, of
big
course,
word.
allegedly, but it sounded like something you see in a movie. I thought, oh my God, and I yeah.
Definitely something awry there. Definitely
But
something.
one of the other things I learned in the book, there was a quote from someone I can't remember. Maybe it was you that um, they because Derek was kind of the manager and got
Yeah,
the Riverside Studios, and then once Malcolm really got active, Wally got kicked out in June of 1975. But once Malcolm became more active, there it sounds like there was a bit of a power struggle between Derek and Malcolm because Derek had been the manager.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. I don't think Malcolm was sort of very reserved. I don't want to know. I don't want to know about the pistols until you got rid of Wally. Uh,
Yes.
but Malcolm came down to Riverside. I went down to Riverside a couple of times with Wall. Uh, but it was all very shady. It was like, oh, quick, quick. I said, oh, let's plug in, Wall. So I plugged in and had a go. And loads of equipment there, full PA system,
Wow.
cabinets,
This
guitars,
was
drums.
this was before Johnny Rotten was involved.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
okay. Wow.
So yeah, it was it was bizarre, but it was shrouded in secrecy. The Wall always said to me, "No, no, don't go in there. Don't go in. No, let's have a look in here, Wall. Let's." No, 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 look, look, come on, we better go. We better go. Why?
Maybe they weren't supposed to be rehearsing there.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
weren't rehearsing there, and of course, I've got all this equipment in there that's
Yes.
all stolen. So
Yes.
it was the big secrecy. That was why Wall was sort of very reluctant to let me. Hey, where'd you get all this gear from? It
And
was
so
all new.
you went to a couple of the rehearsals. What were they like?
No, I didn't go to the rehearsals, but I tell you what I did do. I heard Wall did a recording of the band on a reel to reel machine,
Hmm.
tape machine, and I heard that tape. Oh my God, it was absolutely fantastic. It was like a very rockier Faces.
Oh,
The,
yeah, and that's who they really liked. Yeah.
so if you could imagine the Faces
Hmm.
with more oomphy guitars,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it sounded like, and it was absolutely brilliant. If they ever got hold of that, if that tape will never emerge, it's gone,
Yeah.
years. But that
With Steve singing, of course. What were his
it,
vocals like?
it was great. He was
Hmm.
really good. He
Yeah, he
was
has
really
a good voice.
great voice, great
Yeah.
voice. I really liked it, and I said to Wall, "Whoa, that is amazing, really, really good." Um, but it just
He must have
transpired.
been so. It's such a tragic story, and so many parts of it are tragic. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you was I know he was, Malcolm wanted him out, and so that was that. And that happened right around June of 75 when Malcolm came back from New York.
Yeah,
And I know we'll talk about your band Key West in a minute, but I know you started a band with Wally in 1981. But what do you think Wally's life was like between that time 75 to 81? I mean, it sounds like he just stayed in his bedroom. I don't know.
he did. Wall became an absolute recluse. He just didn't go out hardly at all.
Mhm.
All he did was just stay at home with his mum, and
Yeah.
and his dad. Uh, Terrible. He just completely. He was blown away by the being rejected out of the
A
pistol.
band that I mean, I can imagine a band that he started.
Yeah.
Did you see him much during that time or not at all?
Do you know what? When he was going through that period, occasionally he would emerge.
Hmm.
Don't lose sight of the fact that I was sort of around 16, 17 at
Yeah,
this.
you were a few years younger. Yes.
Yeah. Although I'd started having a few drinks when I was like sort of 14, 15.
Yeah.
Uh, but he would go out with some friends of mine who lived around the corner. There was a we were best friends with a family, the Sullivan family,
Hmm.
and Wally and Mick Sullivan were sort of like, we were in a band together. Me and Mick were in a band together, Mick Sullivan,
Hmm. Yeah, you
and
mentioned that. Yeah.
yeah, And it wasn't until that broke up, but Wall would occasionally go out drinking and dan 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 dan. And I remember a time. This is a story that isn't in the book, but we had. I'd come back from America, and Key West was rolling. We just started that off, and we was all out boozing it up somewhere. Lots of drinks were involved,
Yeah.
and we was in this bar, uh, a post office club, I think it was. Anyway, Wall came in and he was absolutely drunk, and he got out of a taxi, and Sid Vicious was in the taxi.
Oh, he was in a taxi with Sid?
Yeah, because Wall sort of, even though he had nothing now really to do with the Pistols, he
Uh-huh.
was he was involved. He was involved with the Clash. Uh,
Yes, that I did know that. I think you mentioned briefly in the book he roadied for the
yeah,
Clash for a
yeah.
brief time.
He
Yeah.
was friends with Mick Jones
Uh-huh.
from the Mick Jones also, I think he still lives in Shepherd's Bush. What is it about Shepherd's Bush? I don't know what,
I
but
think
it's
he does. I have a friend, Michelle Brigandage. She lives in Ladbroke Grove and which is not too far away, and she
yeah,
sees Mick
next
Jones on the
up.
street sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, crazy! Yeah. So yeah. So going back to when Wall was in that period of being lol, he didn't go out much at all. He was really upset about being booted out, although he didn't show it to those guys. He didn't show it to
Yeah.
Jonesy or Cookie. He didn't show it to them, but he was,
He was broken.
yeah, heartbroken.
Yeah, I figured that because I mean that's what's to me like sort of one of the tragic parts to his story was that that would have been the time that he should have sort of got back in the saddle, so to speak, and
Yeah,
he kind of had a name for himself. I mean,
yeah,
he wrote the music for "Did You Know Wrong," one of the best
yeah.
singles, B-sides of the Pistols, and a great song. And to me, it's very tragic that he didn't, start a band and start another band and keep going. It sounds like he just retreated into his into a depression.
Yeah, he didn't do much. He didn't do much playing wise, just in his bedroom at home, which I suppose he really got better and better. I
Hmm.
suppose, but it wasn't until I came back from my little stint in America in Los Angeles
Hmm.
that I came back from there, and I just knocked on Wally's door and said, "The band's all over in America. It's all finished. I've got this great idea of a band. Why don't we get it together? It's very cheap, tricky
Hmm.
type Journey, Queen, very, very high, loads of harmonies and loads of guitars and da 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 da, da chug, 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 chug. He said, that is an absolutely brilliant idea. Let's do it. That's how the band was starting to get formed. And we got a bass player, Steve Giles, and we got a singer, Sean Noonan, and yeah, Bobby Stocker on drums. His brother was in the Babies.
Oh, I love the Babies. Yeah.
Well, Wally Stocker.
Yeah. I have heard
He,
of Wally Stalker. Yeah.
yeah, Wally Stocker, very very good guitar player. He's Bobby Stocker's brother.
Oh,
So
wow.
so
I
when
didn't, yeah,
he
I
went,
think you might mention that in the book. Well, I really, I love the clip that I've seen of your band, Key West. So I'm gonna put that in right here. And, Wally is wearing the same outfit he's wearing here on the book cover. He's wearing
yeah,
the leather jacket with the white, lapels, and you're wearing a tie, and this is your single or your song "Sanctuary."
right.
So let's have a look. what one thing I love about that clip is it's a really good song, and that beginning riff that was Wally's composition. I'm imagining, and it's
That
really
was what
good.
that was the problem with Wally's songwriting was he wouldn't write lyrics. That's the first thing. So there's no melody or no lyrics to any of his songs,
Hmm.
but he would come up with a riff. And the only thing that he did on Sanctuary was that riff, that down,
And it's a
down,
good one.
great little,
It's
great little riff.
really.
Which, when you think about it, "Did You Know Wrong" has that killer intro riff.
Hmm.
You
Yes.
know, da, 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 da,
I
and
mean,
that's really basically it. And that's what War was good at. He would come up with a killer riff.
mhm.
Um,
He didn't write
oh
lyrics or anything or
no,
melodies.
no, he couldn't. I had to do all that. I had to do the whole thing. He would just come up with the riff basically,
Hmm.
and I
Well,
based that.
sometimes that's the best part of a song. I mean, "Did You Know Wrong" is really a killer riff,
Yes, isn't it
and
just? Yeah,
and Sanctuary has that great riff at the beginning. So you came back from America. I love the story, by the way, of you winning the Battle of the Bands at Kazari's. That was quite an accomplishment of yours. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that was good. And do you know who won it the year after?
I think you said in the book Van Halen? Was it Van
Yeah,
Halen?
that's great.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
that's a big deal to win the Battle of the Bands at Gazzari's. I remember that.
Yeah,
But that band didn't work out. So you come back from America, and uh, why do you think Wally was I mean, he'd been in his room for basically 6 years, not doing much. And as soon as you knocked on his door, he was ready to get back out there and play.
yeah. I think that sort of spurred when I said to him what we could do with this. The chunky guitar riffy type things, which is
Hmm.
right up Ollie's street.
Yeah.
That's exactly, what we were just saying about all those riffs and stuff. That was just exactly what Wall was like. The riffs were just
Hmm.
there. He came up with another killer one. I later reworked it. It's on an album, "Keys to Your Heart." I
Uh-huh.
went round to his house one day in that famous spare room downstairs in Wally's house where the Pistols used to all go back in the early
Oh, was
days.
it downstairs? I always imagined it being upstairs. It was downstairs.
Wally's room was upstairs,
Uh-huh.
but he moved the gear from downstairs, and we turned that into an office. The
Oh,
downstairs,
okay.
but most of it, yeah, up in his room was. Yeah, he had the Marshall stack up there, two 4x12s, two 4x12s on top of each other with an amp on top.
Well,
Brilliant. Yeah,
he was just meant to be a guitar player. I love it.
and he was so admired as well. We all thought Wall was the key man around Shepherd's Bush. He
Hmm.
was the guy. And again, it references in the book to when Wall would be walking down the street. I never knew him then properly, and he'd be, I said, "Who is this guy?" He's just oozes charisma. He was Wall.
Yeah, he was a very good dresser. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they all
he.
were. All those clothing was all stolen as well.
Oh, that's right. What, Steve?
Yeah,
Steve stole the clothes.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, there is a story in your book where Steve Jones he stole a whole store, I think, in Covent Garden. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And there's also the great story. I'm sorry to diversify, but the story of how Steve robbed Harrods. He
Oh, yes. I didn't know that story until I
Yeah,
read it. I don't know if Stephen Hayes was involved, but what did he steal again? Some
yeah,
record player?
yeah. He fancied this stereo that was in there, and he spent the Harrods closed at night when they closed up the shop, switched all the lights out, and he hid in a wardrobe
I mean,
until it was all closed up and midnight or whatever time it was, and so he stole this thing, put it in a black bag, black plastic bin liner type bag, and then headed out over the roof of Harrods and down and
that
great stuff.
That's just a bit. Yeah, I didn't know that story till I read it in your book. You would think Harrods would have like amazing security, but I guess Steve Jones was a professional.
he,
So
he, he definitely was a professional. Good,
yeah,
good check there.
yeah, he was a true professional. But yeah, Wally sounds like he was sort of the you were a few years younger, but it sounds like he was kind of like the rock star of the neighborhood. He had all this equipment. He really could play guitar. He was a great dresser.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that you got him out of his shell in 1981 and with the band Key West. I know it only lasted a couple years.
yeah.
Um, what was he
81,
like?
yeah.
What was he like to work with? Because the impression I get in your book is that well, first he never had any money, and if you went out drinking, it would be hard to drink with him because he'd always want to be borrowing money.
He
But
was always
what's that?
he was always borrowing money off his mum, and
Yeah,
he was terrible for that.
yeah.
Terrible.
But he didn't but was he a good person to work with as far as rehearsing and writing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as I say, the writing side of it, he
Was
would
you?
just, yeah. I had to do all that.
Hmm.
I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, but
No,
Wal
no.
did not write anything. Like,
Huh?
he would just come up with a killer riff. The best riff I always liked was "Keys to Your Heart." It was a song
Hmm.
off one of my albums. It's on there, and there's a killer riff on "Keys to Your Heart." But Wall actually did come up with that title. He called me up one day, come over, come over. So what is it? He said, listen to this. Give me the keys to your heart. Don't you ever stop. Don't you ever stop loving me. I thought, well, that's really catchy.
Uh-huh.
And and then he said, well, I've got this riff. And I said, well, okay, give me that. And I'll go off. And I went off and wrote all the lyrics to it and the melody and da 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 da. And that was a killer one. So he would come up with these great riffs, though, great riffs.
I'll have to, is that on YouTube? Keys to Your Heart? I want to hear it.
It's on Spotify.
It's on Spotify. Okay.
Yeah, I've got 3 albums on Spotify, and the first there are sort of songs in there. Sanctuary, I reworked that, and
Oh,
it's still got the riff. But yeah, that's on one of the albums as well. I think the second album. So the first album's called Absolute Zero.
uh-huh.
The second album was called Can You Just, and the third album was In This Life. So there's 3 albums. Three.
Wow. It sounds like it sounds like the band was really kind of going places. You had record company interest. You did that
Mhm.
the video for Sanctuary, and then tell me about the blow up with Wally. I know it happened at a barbecue at your house. I don't know if
Yeah,
it
my
was
mum.
something. Yeah, I don't know if it was something that was kind of festering and then it came to a head, or but it was pretty. You pretty much broke up at that point.
Yeah, we had a disagreement about he wanted to sack the bass player for
Yes.
God knows what reason. I do not know, but
Yeah.
he wanted to boot Steve out. Now I think that because me and Steve we just went mad on going out with girls and stuff at the time.
Because you were working at HMV and
Yeah,
you had money, and I can understand that. Wally, um, you had to pay his way if you went out with him.
yeah,
So
all the time.
yeah, so that's a bit of a drag.
Because Wall never worked ever.
I
Um,
know that. Yeah, he never worked. Yeah.
but he,
Did
yeah,
he pay for did he pay for rehearsals? Did he pay for his share of rehearsals?
Wall would have this great little thing. We'd be at rehearsals, and it'd be the end of the rehearsal, and he would put his arm around me and go, could you sort me out with the payment for this?" And I'd go, yeah, yeah, okay. It was only like sort of 3 or 4 quid, whatever it was at the
Yeah.
time. But yeah, we'd go out. Stories in the book, as you probably have read, we'd go out and I'd play fruit machines and win the money. And
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
good.
that would pay for us for drinking, with lots of drinking at the time. Very
But
bad.
he sounds like he was jealous of your friendship
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
bass player.
With Steve, that's exactly what it was. He was. We were out all the time, and then he just. Steve was a great bass player. Still is. I still speak to Steve, and he just wanted him out. And I said, no, 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 no. He's great. He really is a good bassman, and he is.
Yeah.
Um, he was sweating him out, and I said no, and he said, well, look, it's my band. I said, oh, it's your band, is it? And he said, well, our band. And I said, well, and then it just escalated and
Mm.
escalated, and we were pretty well hammered anyway
Yeah.
from drinking. And then I punched him.
You punched him, yeah, and really badly, I guess.
Yeah, I hit him. I
Yeah.
only hit him twice, but it was enough. And he went off back to his house across the road, and I went off and did whatever. And the next morning, he came over, and Christ, all his face was like out. I was,
Yeah.
oh my God! And I said, whoa, how did we get to that? And he said, Ron, it will never be the same again. And he
Yeah.
walked off. And that was the last time I saw him for years. He just
Hmm.
went off. Yeah, sad.
That's really sad. And then
Yeah,
that was the end of your band Key West then at that point.
yeah, that was it, all over. And also because Gary, the singer at the time, he was getting more and more involved. Gary's a very very famous voiceover
Mhm.
artist,
Yeah, I
and
gathered that. Yeah.
he's done hundreds of voiceover things. He's one of the top voiceover artists in England, anyway. And he said that he couldn't survive any longer, because we weren't making hardly
Yeah.
no money, and so he had to take this acting job, which he
Mhm.
did. He got a job in Little Shop of Horrors as the voice of the monster in
Yeah,
Little Shop of Horrors
that's a good gig.
in London. In London,
Yeah.
one of the big theatres, big production. And yeah, and he went on to do loads of really good things, Gary. But that was sort of also the icing on the cake to end the band.
Yeah.
We just couldn't. Yeah,
I
that was it.
figured it was I figured it was more than one thing. It usually is with any
Yeah,
breakup, whether it's personal or
yeah,
professional. Uh as I said, what I liked about the book was learning so much more about the early days. But I was intrigued with the fact that Wally stayed in touch with Glenn Matlock
hmm
afterwards and even went to a convention with him in 1988.
hmm
And the fact that Glenn you know uh, granted an interview for the book, but Steve and Paul did not. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing that happened when it was in its very early stages of going to be written, this book, um, Steve and Paul were approached. I can't remember where they were exactly. I think they were at the 100 Club. I'm not exactly sure. And they said, "Oh, we're going to be doing this book. We're going to be doing this book on Wally." And apparently, Paul said that story's already been told, and we said, "Well, actually, it hasn't, and we
No.
want to tell. We want to tell it." And they totally did. They just didn't want to know about it. They really didn't want to know at all anything about that. But Glenn, however, he wasn't really up for booting Wally out. He
No,
did
I didn't think so because I've read that he thought, Wally was the best musician and it wasn't, why
yeah,
kick the best musician out? Yeah.
exactly. And so when I approached Glenn, and he didn't remember who I was from way back when I was like 14.
Yeah.
um,
In the bedroom. Yeah.
obviously, but
Yeah.
I said that I've met you before, but it was like a long time ago. And he said, yeah, I'll be glad to do an interview. So there was no problem there with Glenn at all. Glenn, lovely bloke,
Yeah.
really nice guy, and a
I've
great
heard
great great little musician as well.
To me, it's almost like Steve and Paul, maybe they do have some guilt about kicking Wally out, but they don't want to, they, they, they just don't want to go back to that chapter at all. Whereas,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's correct. And also there was talk of the time, because Wally did write "Did You Know Wrong."
Hmm.
He did actually come up with that initial idea of the song and the riff,
Hmm.
da da da
Yeah.
da. And maybe at the time they were sort of thinking, oh, we're going to have to pay him. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Oh, I could imagine. Yeah.
you
I
know,
can imagine. So
because
after,
as you know, what Wall was battling for years and years to get that money from that song. Um,
oh, was he? I didn't know because I'm
oh
sure
yeah,
it would have, I'm sure that would have cost him some money to be going after them.
that was the problem. Wall didn't have the money to get a solicitor, etc.,
Mhm.
etc. So it was all done through phone calls and table thumping and all that. But it was years and years. So we're talking like 20 odd years here.
Oh,
Um,
he was fighting all those
yeah,
years.
yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
wow.
Because it was the B side of "God Save the Queen,"
Hmm.
wasn't it?
Yes.
And obviously, there are royalties have to be paid. And at first, they didn't give him the writing credit. That only came later. Um, I think there are copies of that single with not with Wally's credit on it. With
Mine doesn't have it. I got the single when it came out, and it's funny because I think they did a terrible thing by excluding him like that. But I think it was also a very stupid thing because big fans of the band, like myself, I had always heard rumors that there was that the other guitar player, the first guitar player, had written the music. And so I remember getting the single and I was thinking I would see another name on there.
mm,
I don't even know if I knew Wally's name, but I just knew that there was that first guitar player had written the song. And
yeah,
I was kind of surprised. I thought, oh, I thought there was going to be another name on this single. So it was very stupid.
well, it's
Yeah.
maybe that was the reason why they didn't want to acknowledge Wally's involvement in the band, which was hard to cover up when you think what he
Yes.
did. The rehearsal studio, the da da da,
Hmm.
etc. etc. So yeah, but it's such a shame that he never actually got to spend it. Um,
Yeah, and as you write in the book, I've written the date down here, May 6, 1996. He died, and the check arrived, 50,000 pounds from Virgin Records arrived the next day. I mean that's a like a I mean tragedy, capital T.
yeah,
I mean he may have continued with his drug use, which we haven't really talked about, but it would have been nice if he got that recognition.
yeah, yeah. It is very sad, very sad.
Mm.
But yeah, life goes on, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like he was very much a broken man, especially after Key West. I know that he he got involved with your brother Brian, and they were
Oh,
involved
terrible.
in that's when his drug use really kind of went crazy, and they stole a check from your sister, a checkbook, and then
Oh,
he ended up going to jail for that.
and me, he stole off me as well.
Oh,
And
he did? Oh,
yeah, they were really bad. Them two, they were terrible.
they
They
were
really
terrible.
were.
Yeah,
And as you know, my brother's he's gone as well.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Drug abuse, and but yeah, they went off to Amsterdam together, and Wallow would in Amsterdam. Funny enough, he
Oh,
yeah them two went on. They got a load of money. I think it was like sort of £2,000 or £3,000 from somewhere. It wasn't a robbery. It was something to do with a fraud bank account or something.
uh-huh.
And what Wall went into the bank and done a forged signature or something. And I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but It was something along those lines. In the bank, Wall was signed away something to do with an account, not theirs, and they got this money and they sodded off to Amsterdam, of all places to go.
Yeah.
They went to Amsterdam, and while they were out there, Wall OD'd
Hmm. How
in a hotel
terrible.
room, and because my brother did actually tell me, but he said, "Oh yeah, bloody Nightingale, bloody OD, didn't he?" I said, oh, Jesus Christ. But as I say, that was the time when I wasn't really. Me and Wall didn't talk for years.
Yeah, and I know
Um,
you weren't on Hemlock Road anymore. You had
yeah,
moved to a different part of London. Yeah.
yeah. I'd moved out to went and lived in Teddington, which is nice part of London. But yeah, and it was only when I came back to see my mother, who was still living in 49 Hemlock Road, and it was my brother Brian who said, "Have you heard about Nightingale?" And I said, "No, what? He's gone."
Hmm.
What do you mean he's gone? He's dead. I thought, Jesus Christ, what? I couldn't believe it. I had to sit down and just was shocked, really
Hmm.
shocked, because I only saw him once, which was only like a couple of months before he passed away. Um, and he was a different person completely. He'd swelled up. He was really overweight.
This is right before he passed away?
This is only a few months before he'd gone,
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
And
Hmm.
and I just I saw him. I saw him past the window of my mum's house, and I ran out. Wall, and he said, "Oh, how's it going?" And as soon as I looked at him face to face, I thought, "Oh, he's on something."
Hmm.
And yeah, he said, "Oh, come up to the house. Come up to the house. I've got something to play you." And but it was very, very dodgy. It was. I just didn't trust him at all. It was almost like he was going to stick a knife in me or something. And we went
Oh,
up. We went up to his room, the same bedroom, and went up there. And he got this Ghetto Blaster cassette tape machine, and he was playing me this like funk disco-y rubbish.
oh.
And I said, no guitars or anything like that.
No guitars. Oh,
No, 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 no. It was absolute drivel. And I just said, "Oh," I said, "Well, that's Jesus. Well, that's rubbish." And he, "Oh, what do you mean?" And I said, "Oh, no, that's just not you at all." And
yeah.
I just had this feeling of menace.
Hmm.
I just thought Wall was gonna do something. I don't know. I had to get out. I had to get out.
Well, drug people on drugs can be very desperate. So
Well, yeah,
maybe you pick that up that, you
I
know.
could just yeah. He wasn't the Wall I knew. And
Hmm.
so I just left, and then just a few weeks later, gone.
Yeah. I'm
Terrible.
assuming he OD'd on heroin at his house.
I'd heard a very similar story,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, because he had two sisters.
Hmm. And one of
One,
them, you say in the book, died of, well, she committed suicide.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
she committed suicide. Um, that was Cherry,
Hmm.
and the other one was Lynn, or was it Lynn or Cherry? That anyway, there were two girls, Lynn and Cherry.
Hmm.
Cherry is still alive.
Hmm.
And I'd reached out to her to try and contact her. And I spoke to her daughter, and her daughter said to me, "Mum doesn't want anything to do with this." She goes, "It just brings back so many bad memories."
Bad.
Um, and she goes, "Can you just?" I said, "Well, I'll send you a copy of the book anyway."
Hmm.
When and yeah, that was all. Apparently, as I've heard, that she's the only living survivor of the
Yes,
Nightingale
of the
family,
family. Yes.
and she is apparently getting the royalty checks.
Yeah, I think you mentioned in the book that some people say she doesn't want to receive the royalty checks, but they would go to her.
Yeah, that's she's the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
surviving member of the Nightingale
yeah.
family.
He
So
didn't have kids, obviously. Yeah.
no, did
And they never not to put down the Sex Pistols, but it's funny to me that they never they do Did You Know Wrong in their set, with Frank Carter, and I don't think he's ever mentioned. It's
no.
like I don't know, it's like a gag order or something. They don't want to.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought at the time. A gag order.
Yeah,
Nobody ever talks about Wall.
yeah,
It's like a big secret. But he's gone, and he's been gone for 30 years or 27,
yeah,
whatever years.
yeah, it's a
Um,
long time. Yeah, it is.
Come
Yeah, it is
on,
almost 30 years. Yeah.
yeah. Which is also, I wanted to do the book obviously because I wanted the people to know that Wall was the instigator of that band,
Yes.
and we don't know how it would have gone with Wall's guitar playing. It wouldn't have been punk. I'm going to say that as a
You don't think
just a,
so?
no, it wouldn't have been punk because Wall wasn't a punky type player. He
Hmm.
was a rock and roll guitar
But
player.
he liked the riffs though, and
Yeah,
yeah.
but look at Glenn.
Hmm.
Glenn's songwriting is very like faces, and
Hmm.
it's not punk, is it?
No,
Um, so it begs you the question has to be answered. Well, hang on a minute. This band had a bass player that was not really punky.
no.
They they had a guitarist that was not. He was more rock than anything. And Steve comes in and starts playing guitar, and it becomes punk.
Yes.
So
Well, yeah,
yeah,
with the addition of Leiden, but
well, yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
yeah, but I think yeah, maybe yeah, I don't know. That's something we'll never know. It is interesting though because Malcolm did want a second guitar player for a while because he did
Yeah,
think Steve was kind of cutting it. And it's just interesting that he just wanted Wally out. He could have easily had Wally and Steve, but
yeah.
he wanted him out.
I heard a rumor that apparently Malcolm went up to Steve and said, "Look, get rid of Wally, and you will become the lead guitarist." And Steve must have had this. Oh wow, wouldn't that be just great? I'll be the lead guitarist.
Yeah, even though
You
I
know,
can't play. Yes. He learned though. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, but it's yeah, I think it would have yeah, I mean any band you change the mixture, it's like a recipe. It's going to be different. But I wrote down a quote. I think it was your your second singer. What was his name? Gary Martin in Key West. And I this to me just sums up the effect that it had on Wally. Gary, your singer, says he never really talked to me about the Sex Pistols. I had no idea, not until the end. He's talking
yeah.
about the end of Key West. I think it really broke him up. It really messed him up.
Mm.
So to me, Wally just he just didn't recover.
Well, this is what I was saying earlier that Wally never acknowledged the Pistols stuff.
Mhm. Yeah,
He never.
he
It was
didn't
almost
talk
like
about it.
no,
Yeah,
he never. As Gary Martin said in the book, I never even knew. He didn't know that
that's
Wall
what's
was
so
involved.
interesting. It broke. It's almost like not to get too psychological, but it's almost like you someone breaks up with you and you think they're the love of your life and you just can't even talk about them anymore because it's
Mm,
too painful.
mm.
Because most people would be bragging about it,
Yeah, exactly.
I wrote Did You Know Wrong? I started that band, but he didn't even want to talk about it.
No, no. And when he did get slung out of the band, they all went down the pub for a drink.
I know that. Yes. I felt so I feel that I still feel the pain for him. I mean, I think I read that he even went to a couple rehearsals after they slung him out
Yeah,
of the band. He
yeah,
was still kind of hanging around.
yeah.
Maybe he thought that they would change their minds. I don't
Well,
know.
well, they could because they were still at Riverside.
Yes,
They couldn't. They had to move to Denmark Street after that because
yes,
obviously because Wall's not in the band. Well, you're not
yeah,
using my rehearsal place then. You
yeah.
know that was
But
that
not
was.
initially. Initially, he kind of they were at Riverside. I don't know how long, but a little bit, and he was still hanging around. And I just thought, oh, he's just like a. I mean, it's just so tragic. He uh, like he didn't say like, oh, F you, and he still was hanging around them, and I find that even
Must
more sad.
That must have been weird, wouldn't it? If you've just been slung out of a band. But I remember
That you
we were
started,
sorry.
that he started, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I do remember he was saying he watched when Lydon came in and he watched the band escalate to mega. That must have been an absolute killer.
Oh,
Um,
when he went to a gig or at Riverside.
well, we did go to a few gigs, but
Yeah.
it was the
Oh, the
rise
Rise,
of the
yes.
Pistols, and to watch them, after Grundy, the television
Yes.
show where they all swore and da 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 da,
Hmm.
and I went over to Walls after that Grundy. I said, "Did you see it? Did you see it?"
Oh, you're
He
kidding.
goes,
Oh,
"Yeah," and he went, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah." Totally didn't want to know about it. Wally didn't. He
oh.
just,
He
yeah, he
didn't say
was
anything because
no,
they played on the show. He didn't say anything about
no,
the
didn't play.
Anarchy
No,
single or anything.
no, no. He was too gutted about the whole thing. He was just too gutted. He just,
Yeah, that's a good way of I love that English expression, gutted. Yeah. I think he
yeah,
was gutted and as I said, never recovered. Well,
yeah.
I want to thank you so much for doing this book because no one's ever written about Wally Nightingale,
Mm.
and he's an important, really important part of punk rock history and Sex Pistols history, and it's he started the band that became the Sex Pistols, and I'm glad that people can learn about him in this book on what kind of guy he was. And also, I love your interviews with the other early people, Del Nunes and Stephen Hayes, who were in Swanker and the Strand. I'll put it in my intro, but I where can people get the book?
Okay, you have to go to my website, which is www.ronevans.rocks.
RonEvans.rocks. Okay, and then just yeah, I've looked at your website, and then they just contact you
Yeah,
through.
there's a system on there to place an order for the book if you
Oh,
want
you can
it.
place an order. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I highly recommend it because it's there's lots of I love all my Sex Pistols books, and obviously I'm going to
stick it
have
on
yours
there.
on. Obviously yours is going to have a place there, and but this is a book that is I think fills a blank hole that people didn't know.
Mm.
I didn't know, and I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't know much about Wally, and
Well,
thank you for that.
I just wanted to add, I wanted to tell the story of Wall,
Hmm.
but I didn't want to make it like a doomy, gloomy book. You
No,
know,
it's got some funny bits in it. I love it.
I tried to make it as funny as what I put because we had a great laugh. I mean,
Yeah.
Wall was my best friend. I miss him loads,
Hmm.
obviously. We had a great time together. I learned a lot from Wall, and yeah, I do miss him. Hey,
Yeah.
well,
Well, you do. You pay a wonderful, wonderful tribute to him, and thank you for that. I'm gonna
there, there, there was one more thing I wanted to add.
oh yeah.
That they did that series, that Pistol series
Yes.
that Danny Boyle did. So I got approached by a film company in London, in Soho, and they were interested. They dragged me into their office, and
Oh.
they all sitting around a big table. There was like 10 of them, and they're writers and film producers and all that. They said, "We love your book," and I went, "Oh, okay. What do you want then?" And they said, "Well, the book is great. It's going to make a great movie."
I think it would make a great movie.
And I said, show me the money. You know, if you want to
Yes.
buy, you want to. And they said, well, we don't want to come up. We can't come up with any money per se as such now, but we'll give you a huge slice of the film when it's done. I said, well, you're talking like 5 years, and I said, I really need money now.
Yes.
And they said, no, we can't offer you any money at the moment. And I said, well, okay, let's. And it stalled. That was the end of it.
Oh,
But they wanted to turn it into a movie, so yeah,
well,
they
you might
didn't.
get approached again because I think it would be it's it's an amazing story, and it
Mm,
almost sounds like when I read it, it sounds like a movie. It's, so
mm,
tragic, the check arriving the day after he dies. I mean,
yeah,
it's, but it's
yeah.
it's an important story.
And
I think
also,
well, I bet you'll be approached by again by someone who wants to make a movie about the Wally
well,
Nightingale story.
let's hope so.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm going to show after this interview, your you playing "Did You Know Wrong" at the 100 Club, which I
Oh
saw
yeah,
on YouTube. Tell me about that. What year was that?
that was must have been about 3 years ago now,
3 years ago. Oh,
yeah, was it 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. And phone call from the guy who runs the 100 Club, Ian, and he said, "Look, we're doing this. Glenn's playing, and you've met Glenn. Why don't you come down and play with us and do Did You Know Wrong as a tribute to Wally?"
that's
And I said,
so
"Oh,
great.
that'd be great. Yeah." I said, I'll gladly do it. So yeah, he just said, "Come down. We're going to rehearse the night before.
Uh-huh.
Uh, just pop down to the rehearsal. Bring your guitar and bring your amp, and plug in." And so I walked in the room. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 da. Went through it 3 times, and said, "Okay, that'll do." And we did it the next night. Just whacked it out.
Well, you
Yeah.
sound great, and you did that riff justice. It
Oh,
sounds
thanks.
incredible. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna play that now. So this is you doing that beautiful riff that we all love, Wally's
Wally's riff.
song. Yes, did you know wrong? Well, thank you so much, Ron. Thank you for your time. I really, really
No worries.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
you really filled in a lot of blanks as far as how the Sex Pistols got started. So I appreciate
That's
you
good.
for that. Thank
That's
you
good
so
to
much.
hear.
And until the next time, I'll be seeing you.
See ya.
You're also aware of a guy called Wally Nightingale, who started a band with Stephen Paul, blah, blah, blah. So, Ron Evans over here, ladies and gentlemen, has just written a book about Wally because he was his best mate. So, this one goes out for Wally, and it's called Did You Know Wrong Now? I don't know the words, I'm not going to understand that shit. Give it up for Ron, ladies and gentlemen, for fuck's sake. Like I said earlier, fucking corpses. She's not though, she's quite hot.